What's your name?
Drew.
How old are you?
34.
Tell me about your childhood starting when you were a baby.
I was born in a small town of Indiana. My brother and I was removed from our biological parents. There was reports of abuse from our bio dad.
So you were in foster care, then you and your older brother were adopted out together to the same family, correct?
Yes.
What were you told about how you interacted with people after that?
According to my adoptive parents, they had told me I had no emotion whatsoever. The only thing I knew how to do was cry. My mom also had shared with me that I couldn't look anybody in the eye. I constantly was staring at the ground. Just had no emotion whatsoever. And that she had to teach me how to look at people, how to correspond with people, how to figure out my emotions.
So years after you got adopted, your mom gave you news. Your adoptive mom gave you news. What was it?
Whenever I was 8 years old, my bio mother had passed away.
So you never got to meet her later on?
No, I did not know who she was. Obviously, when you hear about that, you would love to meet them. But I know there's a time and place for that when we reach our destiny in heaven.
How were your teenage years?
I had behavioral issues whenever it came to, men. I couldn't adapt with them for, because of what my bio father had done to us.
How bad did your behavioral issues get?
I was court ordered into an institution because they had said that I was unstable for society.
How long were you there?
I was there for 3 years.
After you got out, did you go straight back to your adoptive parents, or did you have to go through foster care too?
I had to go through foster care to prove that I was trustworthy, that I had the right skills and, instincts that you need in the outside world in order to cope.
Okay. After you went back to your adoptive family, how did your feelings towards people change?
I still had some issues that weren't as severe. I had still had, anger towards things. Whenever I returned, I just felt like the black sheep. It didn't matter how much love they tried to show me. It was just, I felt off.
So when you became an adult, tell me about your first real relationship.
I met this girl in high school that, I thought there was something with her. There was, some verbal abuse. Not the greatest relationship, but, I chose to try stick with her. And, at the time she had introduced me to witchcraft.
So you got into witchcraft and found it interesting and desirable. How did that change you at that point?
basically, whenever you feel like a nobody and like you feel like the whole world's against you, it made me feel some type of power, some type of way that just stuck. Just stuff that when you have no soul, it feels right.
How serious was your relationship with her?
We were together for about 2 years. We ended up getting engaged. We were planning to have our wedding literally on Halloween and do, some satanic ritual. I ended up getting her pregnant. We were so dark that we had plans of dedicating our daughter to the devil.
Tell me about the friend that saw what was happening in your life that ended up telling you they had a word from the Lord for you.
I had met this Christian friend, and he was really worried about my mental being, the things that were happening. I had shared with him, and he pulled me to the side, and he's like, "Yo, bro, like, I have a word for you." And I was like, "Okay, tell me, I want to know." And he was like, "You need to get out of this relationship, because if you don't, one of these 3 things will happen." Number 1 was divorce. Number 2, one of us would end up severely hurting or killing each other. And number 3, he told me there would be a car accident.
Which one of those scenarios ended up happening?
Because I didn't listen, the car accident happened.
Tell me about the accident.
It happened in 2010. Me and my ex were going home, and we got in this huge argument. And at the time, she was 7 months pregnant. And a dump truck driver who was drunk had hit her side, causing the car to flip 7 times. I was in the car at the time, and all I could think about is getting out of the car, trying to save her. I ended up pulling her out of the car, and she died in my arms.
What happened to your daughter?
She also had passed.
How did you cope after that accident? Okay.
I quit talking to people. At the time, I was not even speaking to my family. Just went totally dark. Started digging a little deeper into witchcraft, where I spent 10 years into it that I became a high priest, or what you would know as a warlock.
Okay, so in the beginning of those 10 years, there were some friends that you knew from high school that you reconnected with.
Yes.
Tell me about these friends.
Well, at the time, I felt like I had nobody, no love. So of course, I'm going to go out and search for love. And these, my friends were the only ones I could think of that had ever shown me love. I thought that's what love was. And, they asked me to join them more and more and more. And I started doing that. And, I knew that they were involved with gang life. Prior to that, they had asked me to, go on, runs with them. Just like slowly manipulating me into getting involved with gang activity.
So you joined this gang?
Yes, not knowing what I was walking into. I didn't know what I was walking into and got initiated. For those of you that, been in my shoes with that, you know what it's like. And you just, I guess, once you find out the truth of it, it makes you hurt so badly inside. I have a lot of regrets that God has forgave me for, but I would not go back.
Okay. How did you get out of it?
I got tired of what I was seeing day to day in, night out. And I just knew I wanted out. And to be honest, it scared me. But, I felt I had no choice at the time. So, I finally, got brave enough to walk up to a higher up and asked him, or told him that I wanted out. And at that point, I found myself staring in the barrel of a 45.
What happened at that point?
God must have had grace up on me, because with a lot of gangs, they just don't let you go. But for some reason, God had grace up on me, and next thing I knew, my higher up had put the pistol down and told me I had 5 seconds to get out, or else he was going to shoot me. And at that point, I ran out of there and never looked back.
After that scenario, you attempted to get back to normal life. You had a serious relationship for a little bit, correct?
Yes.
But that relationship was unstable and not consistent?
Correct.
With all the instability in your life, you decided to turn to alcohol and drink sun up to sundown, correct?
Yes.
About how long did you do that?
2 years.
Tell me about the dream you had that changed that.
There was one day that I was so out of it, literally thought, there was nothing left of me. Could barely move. And in my dream, God came down and visited me, and he's like, if you do not stop drinking today, you will die. And honestly, it scared the crap out of me. Like, I wasn't saved at that point, but I knew exactly who he was. That next day, I made it a priority. As soon as I woke up, I called a friend over and ended up quitting. That night, Jesus came to visit me. And friend came over. I told him, I was done. That I was quitting cold turkey on alcohol, which is a very hard thing to do whenever you've been drinking for so many years. And he accepted it. He had helped me fill big trash bags full of, bottles that were empty, bottles that were full, half full. It didn't matter. It all had to go.
After that, did you develop any new friendships?
Yes. By the grace of God, I found a new group of friends. I thank God for it because that just didn't do any of that stuff. And it helped me through a lot. It was different than what I was used to. They accepted me for who I was, not what they wanted me to be, not controlling, not demanding. I felt very comfortable with them.
Was there anyone in that group that stuck out as special?
Yes. There was this girl that, stood out. She would always be there for me, no matter, how cold the night was, how cold the day was, how many tears I shed. She was right there by my side and had always shown me respect, show me what true love was. Also with this friend, she was going through a separation at the time that I felt the discernment to help her, to talk her out of certain things, or, just be there as a good friend.
With that particular friend, when you heard that voice, though, about this person, it was the day you met this person. What did that voice say?
I heard this voice. I couldn't describe where it came from, what it was, who it was. All I know is I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was some type of joke, or like maybe something you thought that you thought you heard, like your own mindset type deal.
What did the voice say?
That voice had told me that she will be my wife. The person that's with her now is going to leave.
And so you questioned that voice?
Of course I did. I didn't believe in it.
What happened with that friend?
Her ex was so manipulative that he changed his mind, kept harassing her to come back, and made her block me, so we had lost contact.
How did that make you feel?
To be honest, it made me feel dead inside.
So after that, you continued on with the group of people as friends, just not her.
Correct.
Sometime after that, there was a young adult group that wanted you to try church.
Yes.
And what did the leader say to you to try to get you to go to the church?
He told me, he kept harassing me to go, to try it at least one time, and if I didn't like it, that I didn't have to go anymore.
Did you go?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
For the most part, yes. I wasn't fully ready to give my life over to Christ. There was still things that I was dealing with on my own terms. When they laid hands on me, I felt very cold. I started manifesting.
When you manifested, how did they react?
They told me that they were basically done at that point, to continue to try to cry out to Jesus, and they had went home.
So after that, you went on with life, trying to deal with everything.
Yes.
Tell me about the close friendship you developed shortly after that event.
That we had a bond that was almost inseparable. I felt in my heart that I needed to be there for him. He had asked me to come back with him to his parents' house, and I told him I couldn't because I had a very important doctor's appointment. He had committed suicide.
After that, I assume you felt guilt.
I did blame myself. Because I feel like at the time, I felt like if I wasn't there, like if I was there, he would still be here, living.
How did you cope after that loss?
I did my best. I mean, going through death isn't easy, so of course you're going to be tearing up. Lots of sleepless nights.
Sometime later, you developed a new friendship with someone else. What happened there?
Yes, in 2017, I had met a really good friend. We started growing pretty close. He would always make sure that I was okay. Just very caring person.
So what happened to that friendship?
And I noticed, things were off that day. Something wasn't setting right in my stomach. I just knew there was something not right. And when we were, about to enter, we noticed him laying on the floor, and we checked his pulse and found out he had passed away.
What did he pass away from?
What I found out was drug overdose.
So once again, another loss. How did you get through that one?
It just, I guess, became a natural thing, you could say. I was used to death, seeing it, hearing about it. Of course, I shed tears. I had my share of grief over it. But, I learned it's just, it's a part of life.
Okay, so you had mentioned there was a girlfriend at the time of that friend's death.
Yes.
And that continued, but you guys had a lot of issues, correct?
Yeah.
So near the end of that relationship, when you guys were having a lot of problems, an old friend showed up?
Yes.
Who was that old friend?
The girl that I had mentioned earlier in my testimony. that had shown me a lot of respect, showed me what true love was, always was there for me, spent hours upon hours whenever I would stay up all night crying, had showed me back up.
How many years it had been since you'd seen her?
It had been almost 5 years.
Did you have any initial thoughts about that?
I wasn't really sure of it. My girlfriend at the time wouldn't let me talk to her much. She just had a lot of jealousy. It didn't matter, what female it was. She didn't want me talking to anybody.
So the friend that showed back up, you had said that her ex made her block everyone. Where was her ex at this point?
I'm not sure where he was. All I knew is he had to be out of the picture. Shortly after that, I found out that they had gotten a divorce.
A few months had passed, and it got worse with your girlfriend.
Yes.
And then you decided that it'd be best to break up.
Yes.
What happened after you broke up with her?
Just everything started going downhill. It seemed like I was alone again. I was in darkness again. There was no light whatsoever for a good couple months.
What was the moment in which you decided everything was just too much?
It wasn't until August 31st of 2020 that I just had enough. And, I always had in the back of my mind of what, the young adult group had told me, cry out to Jesus. He's waiting for you. And that moment, I couldn't sleep. Everything just, it was like I felt my life ending. And so that night I broke down to God saying, Lord, if you're real, show me. If there's somebody I have a purpose with, show me. Because if not, this is my last straw. This is my last breath. Because in the morning, I will kill myself.
So the next morning, you were preparing to do so, correct?
Yes, I was outside, in fact, in the garage. Had a knife sharpener, sharpening knives, getting ready to, do what I had planned.
At that point, your roommate pulled you aside and asked you to go somewhere with him.
Yes, he asked me to go get in the car to ride with him to his brother's because he could tell something was off about me.
Okay, so while you guys were in the car, he decided to make a phone call, correct?
Yes.
Who did he call?
He called my one friend who had always shown me respect, was always there for me. The one, showed me true love.
What thought came to you when he was talking to her?
My only thought to escape it all, if there was a chance of hope, was to ask her to hang out.
What did she say?
She immediately said yes.
So she had decided to come get you?
Yes.
And what happened during the day that day?
We ended up talking all day, and she had realized, there was some changes because she knew me as dark. She always knew there was something dark about me. At this point, she was a full-blown Christian, and she had, mentioned prior that she was on the role of saving people, preaching the gospel, telling them about God, trying to get them to give their life over to God. And she asked me that night, hey, would you want to give your life over to Christ? And honestly, I felt this like peace when she asked me, and I was like, yes, I would. There was no hesitation at all.
So the day you planned to kill yourself, God showed up for you, and you decided to give your life to Him.
Yes, absolutely.
So now you're a new Christian, and you two decided to spend every night and day together. So it appeared that things were moving you in the direction to get close to her, correct?
Yes.
At that point, what were your thoughts about that?
At that point, it dawned on me. I knew right then that God had shown up once again. His, obviously, his intentions never fails. And he had shown me that this is the person he wanted me to be with.
So on the 31st of August, you guys started talking nonstop. What happened on the 10th of September?
I mean, that day was actually crazy because we kept getting phone call after phone call. Hey, are you with him? Hey, do you like him? And we sat there and, was talking about it. And, the more it got asked, it made sense. And so I felt in my discernment that I was going to ask her to be my girlfriend.
Did she say yes?
Yes, she did.
You already knew, though, that you wanted to be more than just a girlfriend and boyfriend, correct?
Yes.
So what happened 6 days after that?
She was on the verge of being evicted because of something her ex did. And she was messaging somebody about a place. And I leaned over and asked her, who are you texting? What are you saying? And she was like, I'm texting somebody about a house. And I was like, okay, what are you saying? She's like, me and my friend are looking for a place. And I said, friend? No, you should put fiance. And she was like, are you asking me to marry you? And I said, yes.
What did she say to that?
It was almost like there was no hesitation. She immediately told me yes.
So after that, you guys looked for dates to set for the wedding?
Yes.
And how did that go?
There was dates that just wasn't good for me, so to speak, because there were days that I lost someone and I didn't want to be, that be on a special day. So, we kept looking at dates, going back. And the only option was literally 4 days.
So you got married 4 days after you asked her to marry you?
Yes.
So it begins, my love.
After you got married, you sustained an injury to your back,
Yes.
and you had already been diagnosed as a young child with several back conditions, correct?
Yes.
So it made your condition worsen.
Yes.
And then the spiritual warfare began, correct?
Yes.
How did you two combat that?
There was this one night that we were about to go to bed. She was, changing her daughter, and she was like, something just touched me. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah. Well, next thing I know, I felt the same thing. And at that point of that, I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on? Well, next thing we knew, something in the closet had fallen. And I told her to give me a second. Just knowing, my past of being a warlock, I was able to see in the spiritual realm. And so I walked in the closet and there was, obviously demonic in there.
So then she asked you a question. What was that?
She had asked me if I knew how to cast out demons, and I looked at her all crazy and I'm like, what the heck is that? I only know how to bring these things in. Like, I don't know how to cast these things out. So, that's the first time we together had casted out demons. And from there, it never stopped.
So shortly after that, you guys had gotten baptized. And then you were given a couple words from a couple different people to start ministering to people, correct?
Yes.
How was the first year of ministry?
We saw some crazy stuff. It got very difficult at times, which showed us that, even when we think we can do it on our own, sometimes we need guidance from the Lord.
How does ministry look now?
I love it. I would not go back to any of my past.
What would you say to someone watching this that is thinking about living for God?
I would say, it's the best choice you can make. Jesus is the only way you're going to survive. Jesus is the only way that you're going to get anywhere, because all things through Christ can be done. I don't miss my old life, I'll admit, suicide, it's not worth it. You can reach so many other people out there that have the same problem. All you have to do is call up on Jesus and he can get you through anything. If he done it for me, he can do it for you too. And I'll tell you this, one of my favorite verses of the whole Bible is Psalms 147:3. He binds up their wounds and heals the brokenhearted. I'm a walking testimony of that. God bless you all.